Mutation. It is the key to our evolution. It has enabled us to evolve from a single-celled organism into the dominant species on the planet. This process is slow, normally taking thousands and thousands of years. But every few hundred millennia, evolution leaps forward.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Rewind. I'm your host Travis, joined once again by Xavier.
No, it's Wolverine. Schnicky. No, okay.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I think we have a fun-filled episode this time.
Should you call me Logan Weapon X? Yeah. Well, I guess I've already sort of let the cat out of the bag already in this episode.
Yeah, last couple episodes we did, we spent a lot of time. We had a really big, I think, epic two-parter Batman episodes that really deep dived into that whole movie franchise, and we like that. We like doing those so much.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun
for us.
And I
don't know about.
Well, and I hope that everybody has had a chance to already listen to those. But if you haven't, definitely go check it out. popculturerewind.podbean.com, or also do a search on iTunes. Do a search for Pop Culture Rewind, and also if you have the Stitcher Radio app, that's a big podcast.
Put a few on YouTube.
Yes,
YouTube.
That if it's not there already, it will be there very soon. Mm-hmm. So we like to throw those up on YouTube every once in a while. So
yeah.
But thank you for everyone who has tuned in already. If you haven't, go back, listen to it, and come back to this episode. But yeah, Batman was one thing. This one we're going to spend this episode talking about the X-Men movie franchise. Mm-hmm. I know X-Men Days of Future Past, the new extended Rogue cut that's coming out. If it's not out already.
Rogue cut?
Yeah.
Why is it called the Rogue cut?
In Days of Future Past, they actually filmed quite a few scenes and sequences with Anna Paquin back as Rogue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember reading that.
Yeah.
And then she's like barely in the thing.
She's not in it. They took all her scenes out.
She's at the end.
Well, yeah, true. But they just incorporate all the scenes back in the movie. So, anyway, with that being said, I thought this might be a good time to maybe review, rewind, if you will.
The XCU.
The XCU?
X-Men Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
We're going to get the Marvel MCU.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it sounded cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
But X-Men as a franchise is probably, comic book wise, it's probably my favorite franchise out there.
Comic book wise.
Comic book
yes,
wise.
X-Men is probably my favorite. When I was a kid, I think it was Spider-Man. But over the years, as I got older, X-Men became my favorite book.
Yeah.
So
if I go back, I mean, X-Men was my first comic book that I got into. I had the video games, the cartoon. Obviously, we discussed the cartoon on a couple episodes before. But
I always had an affinity for Xavier, Professor X-Men. I was
Professor X.
Yes,
yeah.
totally. So
I'm sure you had fun with that.
Yeah. People always assumed I like X-Files. I don't know why. because of my name. Because I go X is like a nickname. I go by X, so people always just assume I like X-Men and X-Files and things like that.
Yeah,
I don't know, but whatever.
If you ever have like a filing cabinet and you have a lot of files in there, then that needs to be labeled the X-Files. But,
okay.
But until then, no.
Okay.
But throughout the years, X-Men, especially with the cartoon, picked up in the '90s. That's when the popularity of X-Men really kind of blew up to the point where there's always rumors of, hey, wouldn't it be cool if there was an X-Men movie? And there was always wishful thinking and casting calls and things like that would do their own. I think Wizard magazine did, I think, one or two like casting calls of like fictitious X-Men movies if they could cast their own movies if they were make one.
Do you remember any of them off the top of your head?
It's funny.
I bet you anything Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart was.
Yeah.
That's the one thing they got right.
Yeah.
I remember one. Again, this is the '90s. They had Glenn Danzig as Wolverine.
You know what? I'll totally buy that.
I would too. Yeah, definitely.
If you remember the band Danzig and
yeah.
what he looked like, he was just a big guy, very hairy with the big mutton chops. Mm-hmm.
So that kind of sounds like Wolverine.
That was probably the only reason, because you know what? This is a big guy with mutton chops.
Rutger Hauer as Magneto, I think.
I'll buy that.
Rebecca De Mornay as White Queen.
I guess at the time.
Yeah, again, 90s.
Yeah.
There are some other ones. That's the ones that are come off the top of my head.
Okay.
Jean-Claude Van Damme as Gambit.
Well, he's French, or he speaks French.
Yeah.
It's just he can't act. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah.
He looks good throwing kicks and shit. I'll give him that. He can do a split like nobody's business.
Yeah.
But Gambit's got to be really charming and suave, and I love Van Damme. Not trying to knock Mr. Van Damme here, but
he can do so much.
He could, yeah. Well, whatever. I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong.
Right? You're wrong. But we don't have to worry about those casting calls anymore because in the year 2000, that we finally got an actual X-Men movie.
Yeah, like you were saying, how they got really popular in the 90s. That when this big wave in the last 15 years of comic book movies, it kind of kicked. This is what kicked it all off.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin in 1997 kind of killed the DC movies. Warner Brothers owns all of DC.
Yeah.
And that movie was so abysmal. Warner Brothers kind of said, we're not going to be making any comic book movies for a while. And then New Line came up with Blade.
Yes.
In 1980, was it
1998?
98? Okay. Now, a lot of people want to give Blade credit for being the one that started all this, but to be fair, it was a rated R movie, so it wasn't playing by comic book rules. Nobody knew it was a comic book movie,
right?
And it's about killing vampires, which is a concept. I guarantee you, like most of the people who saw Blade weren't aware they were watching a comic book movie. But most of the people who saw X-Men in theaters were aware that it was a comic book property.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to give X-Men... I in my mind, they are the ones who kind of spearheaded...
Mainstream.
Pioneered, if you will, this huge wave. Because it was about 2 years later, and then Spider-Man. Right. The first Spider-Man came out in 2002. Yeah. So those two movies, it was like a 1-2 punch, bam, bam, between Fox and then Sony... And all of a sudden, oh my God, comic book movies are become a thing. And now, fast forward 10 years, we live in an age where it's new comic book movies every other month.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, and you can kind of trace it all back. In a way, an argument can be made to X-Men 2000.
I agree 100%. The only thing, I will. The Blade thing, that was probably like a test run, maybe not so much.
Yeah,
because the studio execs, they wanted to kind of test
I mean, but you just put Wesley Snipes in an R-rated movie killing vampires and not make it Blade, but just right there, that would probably sell.
True.
Just as a movie.
Yeah.
Your average moviegoer would be like, "Ooh, Wesley Snipes is killing vampires," and saying, "Motherfucker, I'll buy that." You got my $10.
Right.
Well, this was 1970. You got my like $6.50, however much it cost back then.
Right. So let's get into it. X-Men, X-Men, the year 2000.
In the year 2000. But it doesn't take place in 2000. It takes place in the not too distant future. So they can have dorky cell phones and things like that because it's the future.
Yeah. Because timelines won't become a factor in these movies at all.
Oh, God.
We'll get into that later. But this was the catalyst for, I think, you just mentioned it, modern comic book movies kind of taking reign for everything here. The one big thing that was a concern for making an X-Men movie was, if you try to translate these characters into movie characters, it's going to look kind of silly.
Visually?
Yeah, I would think so. Going back before this movie's ever made, you got to think, Wolverine in tight yellow
spandex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Magneto in his purple, red, pink.
Yeah, red and purple.
Yeah.
It would look kind of silly if they translate it straight from the comics. Mm-hmm. So this was the first time they took a comic movie and they kind of strayed from the actual traditional looks and made it their own. The leather, black leather.
So we both said we're big fans of the comic, and I'm going to say I have little gripes with this whole franchise. A lot of it comes from the fact that I know the books.
Yeah.
And when they stray, I'm not going to hit them on everything because I know that you're trying to sell a movie to the masses and things like that.
Right.
But sometimes they stray really far unnecessarily, and that's when that's when the nerd in me, comes out, and I'm like, wrong. You failed.
Wrong.
You failed.
Wrong.
You failed, Bryan Singer. You failed me. So I'm just going to put that little caveat out there. I might get a little passionate about some dorky shit that nobody cares about, but
it's kind of hard not to with these movies because we are big fans. And I think you make a good point about these. If it wasn't for the fans, we may not.
These movies probably would have never big viable properties.
Yeah, and if you're making these movies for the fans, why not give a little back, and
try
a little harder, I guess.
Well, X-Men 2000, I want to say for its time, it took itself seriously. It was a very departure from what at the time was only Superman and Batman were pretty much the only comic book movies. Yeah, we had a Punisher,
legit, big mainstream.
We had Punisher. Yeah. We had a couple of TV movies, like the Trial of the Incredible Hulk.
Right. Yeah.
I think Daredevil was in that one.
Thor was, I think. One of them two was.
He was in both of them. And I got a kick out of seeing Daredevil and Thor fighting right next to Lou Ferrigno and shit.
Yeah.
But so this one was very. It took itself seriously. It was grounded in kind of a reality. This is before the Nolan Batman movies came out.
Yeah.
So this one's very grounded. So I kind of at the time, I still do appreciate what Bryan Singer did. He took it seriously. Bryan Singer, up till that point, had only done like The Usual Suspects and I think Apt Pupil, maybe some. That's what he was known for. And these were some serious drama.
Usual
movies.
Suspects is what I knew him from.
Yeah, these were not. You don't look at him and think he would do a great comic book movie. Mm-hmm. He would do like a great drama and a great serious movie. So, and I think that's the tone they wanted when they hired him. But
he was wasn't he a fan? Like he was a comic book fan.
I don't know about that. He may have been.
Mm. Well, and going back to the looks, this movie was actually so successful that the comic book sales at the time weren't doing so well. So what they did was they actually they didn't reboot the comic book series, but they just did a big kind of makeover, and the comic books actually followed suit, and they got all the black leather costumes in the comics and everything. so they actually changed the official comic continuity timeline of making them more in line with the mainstream Hollywood movie. So, and that lasted for several years, and they eventually went back to the costumes, that we know. But
I don't think I was reading too many of the books in 2000s. So.
No, a whole lot of people weren't. Matter of fact, I think that was right before Marvel. They were going for bankruptcy. I mean, that was a bad time for Marvel. So
just that sentence, Marvel's going bankrupt,
right?
Sounds crazy to say. But you want to jump in a little bit, talk about the movie itself? We kind of set the landscape of 2000 and where it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so like I said, it's a really good movie, really well done, I should say. Now the opening scene. It starts out in like Poland at a concentration camp.
Right.
In the rain, we got Jews running through mud, and there's Nazis with their machine guns. And I'm watching this like, holy shit, this is a comic book movie. It's just a really serious,
and they're really going
it's
legit,
pretty hardcore. Yeah. And it turns out, I mean, again, my little nerd brain in the theater was like, this is Magneto. We're gonna see how Magneto, who
as soon as you say Poland 1945 and you see concentration camps, okay, where's Magneto?
Yeah, where's young little kid Magneto? Right. And it's a cool scene where he first gains some of his powers, and then we jump ahead and we're introduced to our next character, Sookie, as Rogue, or Anna Paquin, as Sookie, as Rogue. I'm sorry, she's just probably going to be Sookie to me. Trying out a Southern accent, not really fully committing to it, and she kind of eventually loses it. And we get another scene of her gaining her powers too,
right.
And they show one of them, the kid, his family is getting marched off to a death camp. Another girl, she's in a room kissing her boy for the first time. But both of them, their powers are manifesting. So they're kind of showing that, like, all across the world, all across time, all across cultures, and everything like that, mutants are just popping up.
Yeah.
Just random. So it was a good way to sort of describe this world, to describe what mutants are.
You can even say that, I don't want to say that would be foreshadowing or anything, but starting off with Magneto and Rogue, and then the way the movie ended, with Magneto using Rogue.
Oh, I never really thought about that. Kinda. They do. They are kind of at the pivotal scene at the end. And then we cut up to it like a Senate hearing where Dr. Jean Grey, played by Famke Janssen, who as Jean Grey, who's a big part of the series. What did you think of her?
I had a thing for her back in that time.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, I was the opposite.
Really?
I was like, her? I thought she was like 35 in the first movie, and I was. And Scott, James Marsden, who plays Cyclops, was like 27.
Yeah,
she was like 35, and she was a little too. I sound like a movie executive, like she's too old, but she was too old. She was too old to begin the training. So she plays. So we meet her as Jean Grey. We meet James. Well, we don't meet James Marsden yet. Okay, at this Senate hearing, Xavier's there, and he sees a guy walking out in a coat and a hat, and he follows him. And then he pulls up, and it turns out that that's old Magneto, and this is old Xavier. Ian McKellen is Magneto.
Sir Ian McKellen,
and Sir Patrick Stewart, we should say. And they're having this he's talking to the back of Ian McKellen, and he's like, what would you have me do, Charles? And he points to his head, are you sneaking around in here, Charles? And I'm looking for hope. And he turns around, and I will bring you hope, old friend. And I'm like, oh my God, these are actors.
Right, yeah.
Really acting in a comic book movie. That scene is what, as earnest as that opening Holocaust scene was, it was a scene of these two well-respected actors really acting. And doing the film, not phoning it in, doing the scene justice, doing these characters justice. I was like, this is going to work.
Establishing their characters right then and there, old friend, and this and that.
Yeah,
and
it was just so well done. I got goosebumps.
You could already feel the history between the two, just in that one scene.
It's only like 10 minutes in the movie, so I'm still rocking a little bit of a buzz. So I'm like really into the scene, and I'm like, I got goosebumps. I just don't get in my way. And,
right. Yeah.
Oh, it was so good. I got goosebumps. Unfortunately, the movie kind of goes a little downhill after. I mean, it's just not as... Or maybe my buzz wore off.
that set the tone. I mean, that...
Yeah, it set the tone. It was a great scene between these two. They legitimized just the casting of these two great actors in these iconic roles.
Yeah, and Patrick Stewart as Xavier. I mean, we just mentioned a few minutes ago. I mean, that was like the obvious... Yeah,
although I gotta admit, in hindsight, looking back, I mean, isn't he a little too on the nose for casting? Because... He looks like Xavier. He sounds like Xavier. All Patrick Stewart had to do to become Xavier, to inhabit the role, is sit down. I just keep seeing Patrick Stewart too much. If he didn't rock a bald head all 24/7 as Patrick Stewart, none of the help. If he shaves his head for the role, and I look at him, that's when he's in his Xavier mode. But he looks like Patrick Stewart sitting down.
Did you? Okay, well that's
he doesn't change his accent. He doesn't do he doesn't get intense.
Did you think, as good as Ian McKellen was, did you think that he was too old for Magneto?
Okay, when I heard the casting, if you know Magneto in the books, he's got the white hair, but he is built, he's jacked, he looks like a man in his prime. He doesn't look like a frail little man like Ian McKellen. He looks like he can whoop some ass.
Right.
At the time, I didn't know much about Ian McKellen except from the movie Gods and Monsters. Which and Apt People.
Yeah.
But in Gods and Monsters, he plays James Whale, who was an openly gay film director in the 40s. So the whole movie, Ian McKellen is acting proper gay, very fancy gay, and that's what I saw him in. He's amazing in that movie. I thought he was brilliant. But that's pretty much all I knew him from. I wasn't even sure if I knew that Ian McKellen was openly gay at the time. So I thought they're hiring that skinny, scrawny little guy who played the gay man. Really? He's a brilliant actor, but I don't know. I had Magneto, comic book Magneto in my head.
Yeah.
So I'll admit, I wasn't really on board. I was skeptical, and I thought Bryan Singer had just done Apt People with Ian McKellen. Oh, he's just casting his friends,
But then again, if you then go back to think about, okay, wait a minute, if this is a movie grounded in reality, and this guy was part of the concentration camps back in 1945, yeah, he would be a little... On the
a little long in the tooth, yeah. He probably would be closer to...
If he controls metal, he wouldn't need to be all big and bulky. He can just do everything with his hands.
Yeah, well, in comics, everybody's big and bulky.
Yeah.
So yeah, right away, at least after that scene, I was like, okay, I'm sold.
Yeah.
I'm sold on Ian McKellen. And Patrick Stewart, really.
Yeah, any doubts were washed away at that point.
Yeah. So, yeah, Patrick Stewart, who I love, and I was on board, I didn't think that at the time, that it was too on the nose. Looking back... I'd start to think that, but at the time, in year 2000, in the theater, it was both of these actors giving me goosebumps. Yeah. It's an amazing scene, so that's all good to go. Who else was introduced in these series?
Well, let's go with it, right? The star of the whole franchise, Hugh Jackman.
Oh, Hugh Jackman, yeah.
Yeah, it's as well.
I would be like, we're going to talk about Ray Park right now. Got it. No, Hugh Jackman. Yeah, this introduced the world
to Hugh Jackman.
To Mr. Hugh Jackman, yeah, who was a very last-minute addition to the cast. It was originally going to be Doug Ray Scott.
That's right, yeah. That's right.
Who I think is Scottish? I'm not sure.
I think so, yeah.
He's a Scot. But I think he bailed, or he had scheduling conflicts. He wanted to play the villain of Mission Impossible 2, which came out the same year, I think. So the bad guy from Mission Impossible 2 was the original Wolverine. And I think he might have been a good choice. He's got a gruff look to his face. Just his features look rough.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does. I've seen him do American accents before. Granted, Wolverine's Canadian, but there's always a twinge of European in his voice.
Okay.
Although there's even Wolverine's he's Australian, Hugh Jackman. Right, when he's in the camper And Anna Paquin's like, you should put on your seatbelt. He's like, look, kid, I don't need advice on how to drive.
Did you hear it? I mean,
I could hear it.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
I could totally hear it. When
he was just paying homage to the old 1989 Pride of the X-Men cartoon. When
You
Wolverine...
can't make her an X-Men. She's just a kid. Yeah. Crikey. I'm going to go slay a dingo with my claws now.
That is a real thing. Wolverine was Australian in a cartoon.
Yes.
Do a YouTube search, Pride of the X-Men.
Pryde.
Yeah, Pride
of the X-Men.
Yeah.
Great cartoon.
Yeah, it was. We watched the hell out of that thing back in the day.
It looks a little G.I. Joe-ish, the animation,
Yeah.
but it's a good cartoon.
Okay, but getting back to Hugh Jackman, when we first see him,
Kinda went off there.
Yeah, he's in a pretty much a pit fighting stage. Pretty much, he's
in a steel cage match in a bar.
Yeah, and
He's Fight Clubbing it.
First thing I noticed, he's really tall.
Yeah, you're right. Wolverine in the comics is supposed to be like 5'6" or something.
Shorter than that, I think, like 5'4".
Not a tall man.
Just kind of short and stocky.
But in all fairness, how many A-list or lead? How many actors in general are that tiny? Like, would you want Jason Schwartzman to be Wolverine? Although I'd buy that. I'd buy a ticket to see Jason Schwartzman be Wolverine. But
Short and stocky.
Yeah, Michael J. Fox as Wolverine. So I give him a pass on that.
Okay.
You know, come on.
Yeah.
It's hard to find.
And besides the height thing, they got his for all intents and purposes for grounded reality. They got the hair and the
Yeah, Wolverine in the books has a very unique haircut that doesn't translate well in real life.
Yeah,
and they did kind of get it right, but at the risk of making Hugh Jackman look kind of silly. He looked a little silly with that haircut.
well.
But no, it's true because as the series goes on, as Wolverine evolves, they learned it's not about the hair; it's about the sideburns.
Right.
It's about the mutton chops. In the Wolverine and his spin-offs, he has normal haircuts, but as long as you got those mutton chops, that's Wolverine.
I think he looked the best in the Wolverine, like facial wise. I mean,
yeah, he looks
normal, I guess. Yeah.
But they were still trying to get the haircut that kind of fans and points.
Yeah.
In the back of your head. I can't describe it.
I always took it, like, when I was a kid, I always took it, like, because in the comics he had the mask, you know, and the mask had the two little...
Yeah, if you've seen Wolverine's mask.
And I always do, like, he just took off, like, he had hat hair, like, equivalent of hat hair. Like, you know,
Yeah.
he would take off the mask and his hair was just stuck like that.
Yeah. What's funny is Beast always had the exact same haircut.
Right? I thought that was a thing.
Yeah, it was a thing.
Wolfsbane had it too, I think. Wolfsbane or Feral or one of the two. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
Nerd.
No, I'm just kidding. So Wolverine, he's not as built as he is in this movie. When you go back compared to how he is in other movies, he was because, like I said, he was cast at the last minute,
Right.
So he didn't have time to hit the gym. So he's a little skinny.
He makes up for it later on.
Yeah, big time. You kind of forget. That's what makes it so crazy when you go back and watch part one. You're so used to seeing Hugh Jackman as being just this beast. Well, not beast, but whatever. Okay.
But I think they did for him as the character. I think he did a good job for the character of Logan Wolverine. I didn't have any issues with it. Once you get past, okay, this is a real life Wolverine. Normal, you know, once you get past all that, it's. I think he did good for what it was.
They did one other thing that the movie kind of brought in that I never really just thought about being a comic book reader is in the books. Wolverine has these three little like half ice cream cone dealies on the back of his hand,
on his claws.
But they're not on his hand, and the claws come out of those little holes, sort of. But this movie implied that
it was very wishy washy.
They came out the back of his hand. This movie they showed them literally breaking the skin and coming out of his knuckles.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where Anna Paquin says, like, when they come out, does it hurt? He goes, every time.
Yeah.
And I never thought, like, what if they tear through his skin to come out every single time? And he has to cut his hands.
Yeah.
I mean, he heals, but I thought that was a really cool idea that I'd never even thought about.
Again, when you ground it in reality, the comic books aren't going to touch on that, you know, because it's just a cool, or the cartoon, they're not going to touch on that. It's just him with weapons, pretty much. So, yeah, you take you put the science behind it or whatever, and there you go.
Just the logic.
Yeah,
when you think about it for 5 seconds. Yeah, I did like it. He's a little bit of a... Well, not that he's a dickhead. Okay, well, he gets back to the mansion where he meets the X-Men, which consists of Storm, Cyclops, and Jean.
Yeah.
All three.
They're instructors.
They're instructors at the school, yeah. And he's kind of a dickhead to Scott right out the gate. Mm-hmm. And anybody knows the books knows it's kind of a love triangle, and they don't get along. But... there was no reason for him to be a dickhead. Like, Scott saves his life.
Yeah.
And then he goes, and this is Scott Summers, also known as Cyclops. Scott puts his hands out. He just looks at it like it's diseased. He's like, I'm leaving. He looks at Scott, and Cyclops, right, grabs him by the collar of his shirt. You want to get out of my way? I'm like, whoa, what did this guy do to you other than save your life? I mean, I know they're trying to set it up that they don't get along because they both love Jean, but I was watching that. I watched this movie again the other day to prepare for this, and I was like, dude, Wolverine's an asshole. He's kind of an asshole to Scott Summers in this movie.
I thought they were kind of playing it up. It's just him having an attitude towards everybody, and Cyclops was in his way, I guess. I don't know, but when you look at it like that, he was kind of an ass.
It's me. Prove it. You're a dick. Why is Scott a dick? Well, I don't know. I don't get it. And maybe it's because I just feel bad for James Marsden in this whole series.
I like James Marsden. I like him as Cyclops. Like, to me,
good. When I heard his casting, I was like, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The look. Okay. Real quick on the look, the glasses, the
visor.
Yeah. Well, first of all, when he's not in costume mode, he's got the little Oakleys, the badass looking.
Those red Oakleys, yeah, totally.
Dude, and I've always wanted a pair of those. But when he's in costume, the visor, that was that's one thing. That's one thing you always go to when you look at Cyclops. Is the visor in the comics.
Big yellow visor.
Yeah. So they did what they did. They made it gray with the red. Mm-hmm. So. I
was fine with his look.
Yeah, in the first movie, it was like really big, bulky around, and they kind of like slimmed it down in the next.
Did they change it?
Yeah.
I never really noticed that.
Yeah, the first one is a little bit different, but it was just a shame that Cyclops, the leader of the X-Men, what did he contribute?
He had nothing to do in this.
What did he
movie.
contribute to the whole franchise?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, we should say, like, the problem with this movie and most of the movies is there's so many characters, and you have to introduce them all, and you don't really have time. To really give him a proper introduction. Wolverine does because it's practically his movie.
Right.
But the other X-Men, there's literally characters in this movie like Toad or Sabretooth or even Mystique who get about one line apiece.
Yeah.
They are not delved into in any way. They're just there to do some cool special effect with their power, and that's about it.
Yeah.
When you compare what the franchise eventually does with Mystique, there's no reason she would be this quiet, have nothing to do, nothing to contribute, But like Cyclops, can you tell me anything about his character from this movie? He has one good scene in this movie, kind of, and it's like half a scene, and that's when after Xavier is kind of in his coma, and he's sort of just leaning over his body, and he's talking to his mentor, who's in a coma, but he's still talking to him. He's like, "You've taught me everything I know that was ever worth knowing," and you realize, he really looks up to Xavier. He's his mentor. They establish some kind of a relationship he has with the character, and he's like, "And if anything happens to you, I'll take care of him." Like the students, like I'll take lead, and that was probably his best scene.
I think so.
Just acting against Patrick Stewart's probably asleep. He's an old man. He's like, I think he's asleep, sir. Whatever, just let him sleep.
Nap time.
Take two, yeah. So that was probably Cyclops' best scene in the movie. That developed
in the franchise.
Pretty much, yeah. That had any kind of character development whatsoever. This movie didn't know what to do with him. This franchise doesn't know what to do with him.
What other team member choices were there? I know we said we just talked about Cyclops, Jean Grey. We talked about her a little bit.
Halle Berry.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Halle Berry.
Where to go with the where to start with this?
This is going to be maybe one of the first of a couple ongoing gripes.
Okay.
Like I said, that they don't get the characters right. And another issue I have is the X-Men universe is it's like a Benetton ad. There's like Russians and Germans and Australians and Africans and all that. It's a lot of diverse races in this universe. In the movies, it's like 95% American. Storm, as a character, she's from Africa. She's worshipped as an African goddess. Mm-hmm. She's married to the king of an African country. Mm-hmm. She's totally African.
Right.
And then in the movie, she's Halle Berry, who's a lovely woman, but she's
how do you want to go?
She's a lot of mainstream. How do I argue this? Her mom's white. Put it that way.
Okay.
She's Hollywood black. She's a safe, acceptable black.
Okay. That's fair.
In a way, and I'm not saying I'm not comfortable with it. I'm just speaking in generalities here.
Right.
Don't crucify me for this, but when a character who's not just a black character, but an African black character, and then you get Halle Berry, who doesn't play her as African. I think she tries to at a couple times in the movie. I think she puts on an accent.
Tries to.
Wolverine's like, you sure you're on the right side? She's like, well, at least I've chosen a side. which I guess that's an African accent. I don't know. But then she says fuck it, and then in part 2 and 3, she's just whatever.
Halle Berry.
She's just Halle Berry. So, and again, she has nothing to do in this movie. Really, there's no character development whatsoever. She's kind of just there.
No. She witnesses Senator Kelly die.
Yeah. So that kind of runs up the X-Men. We only get like 5. We get a couple quick...
A lot of cameos. Throughout this whole franchise, there's cameos out the ass. I mean, there's...
Yeah, well, we get like a little girl who walks through a wall.
Yeah.
That's all we get. I mean, they don't say she's Kitty, but, you know, we're like, oh, I guess that was Shadowcat. And what else do we get?
Jubilee was...
Not in the first one.
Yeah, well, there's a chick in a yellow trench coat in the classroom.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess that was Jubilee. Oh, we get an Iceman.
Yeah, Iceman, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's... Okay.
Sean Ashmore, right?
Ashmore, right?
Yeah, I always get him and his brother mixed up.
Mm-hmm. He's got twin brothers. So, yeah, okay, we do get an Iceman, and he is kind of established.
Yeah.
Which and in a way, we get a little bit of a pyro. Little kid, he got the little Zippo, and he creates a little fireball.
Yeah, that's established for the next movie, I think.
But again, you're like, Pyro, did he go to the X-Men school? Was he a kid? That's the nerd talking.
Yeah.
Okay, we also get a few villains.
Yeah.
Notably, we've already talked about Magneto. We get Rebecca Romaine Stamos. Although I don't know if she had been Stamos yet.
I think so.
Okay. As Mystique.
Yeah.
And this is a different take. They just, you're going to cast a supermodel. You're going to try and want to get her naked.
Yeah.
So she pretty much plays Mystique as being constantly naked.
Right.
And she's all reptilian with scales and stuff.
Yeah, her
it's
scale,
still kind of hot.
She's only scaly on her hoo-has, pretty much.
Yeah.
Which, hey, that's fine. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of dig this Mystique.
I guess so. She has like one line, literally, like people like you. The reason I was afraid to go to school as a child, and that's it.
And she had a weird, like, echoey.
It was auto tuned.
Yeah.
So
and that was the only time they played with that too, I think.
Yeah. Well, in part 2, when she's Mystique, her voice just has like an echo. I think they did a little bit in part 2. I think so. Or maybe it's just like, wow, Rebecca Romaine's not being giggly and because whatever. She's actually not a terrible actress, Rebecca Romaine.
Yeah, she held her own in the movie. Yeah.
Well, I'm just meaning this. I mean, she's going on to do some other work. We get Sabretooth, played by, what's that dude's name?
Tyler Creed? No, Tyler Maine. Tyler Maine.
Tyler Creed.
Crossing names here.
So he's Sabretooth. He gets a couple lines.
A couple growls. No, he gets more than a couple growls. Dude, actually the one scene in the ticket booth or whatever it was where he sneaks up behind.
Scream for me.
Yeah, dude, I kind of like that.
Yeah, but you says the guy with a wrestling podcast.
Oh, that has nothing to do with it. No.
Tell me you weren't a little psyched to see a wrestler in an X-Men movie.
He wasn't a big deal. I mean,
he wasn't. I mean, I don't know. I've never even heard of him as a wrestler.
Exactly. He's not a big deal.
That doesn't mean anything.
Anyway, well, yeah, true. But no, just when he just grabbed her by the throat and shoved her up against the glass, screamed for me.
I guess so.
Kind of intense, I guess.
I guess it was a good scene. It's probably his best scene of all the villains.
Yeah,
it was. Then we get one more. Ray Park.
Yes, that's Toad.
I like Ray Park. Unfortunately, they let him talk with his voice.
Yeah.
What you're supposed to bring someone back with you. He's a good fighter. He's a good gymnast. He looks great on screen throwing kicks. But all of his best roles have been silent. Yeah. He was Darth Maul in Phantom Menace. He was the Headless Horseman in Sleepy Hollow. He's Snake Eyes in the G.I. Joe movies. He looks great throwing kicks on film. Just don't talk, please. So yeah, we get that. Unfortunately, he gets more lines than a lot of the villains. They give him more than "Don't you people ever die." I don't know. Quit playing around.
Maybe Bryan Singer was a sucker for the little Cockney accent.
Yeah. So we established our cast. The plot of this movie. Okay, well, they play a little bit with the whole mutants are just coming out and they're being really persecuted. They're led by Senator Robert Kelly, a character from the comics, who's mostly known for being against mutants, played by Bruce Davidson, an actor I like who was also in Apt Pupil. Again, this is Bryan Singer going with his buddies. He did a good job, I think, as sort of spearheading.
I like him. I like him as an actor.
Mutant hate. Yeah. And then so Magneto, his big plot, his big scheme, is to he creates a device that he takes to the Statue of Liberty and somehow gets it inside the torch without nobody knowing.
Yeah.
Does he dismantle the torch? How does he get that device?
Well, they show earlier like Toad is like spray painting like the replacement piece that they're going to put this device in.
Is that what he's spray painting?
Yeah.
Oh, that was not made clear to me. That was not made clear to me. I never do. I thought he was painting his helmet because it was purple.
No, he's painting green, but it was. It took me a few viewings to figure that out.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Well, that was not made clear to me.
Yeah, they're making.
I was too distracted by his stupid accent. It's not a stupid accent. It's distracting when you're listening to Toad, who's not British. Again, they're Americanizing all.
We might be getting to that later on.
All
too.
the foreign characters, and then the one American mutant, they make him British.
Yeah.
So whatever. So his plot is to put this device in the Statue of Liberty because there's going to be a UN meeting in New York.
Yeah, something like that.
And it sends out a radiation that turns regular people into mutants.
Right.
So he wants to mutate, if you will, all the world leaders. So the world will be run by mutants.
Right.
As brothers.
Yes.
As mutants. So it's not the worst scheme for a comic book villain to have.
Right. Yeah.
I guess. And he needs Rogue to do it. He kidnaps Rogue, so Rogue will power the machine.
He needs. It's going to weaken him if he does it. So he needs her to absorb his power, so she can do it for him. Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. So we got our plot. We got our characters. I don't know. I mean, it's a good movie. The X-Men have this really shitty radar that looks all metal and 3D, and they kind of beat Man of Steel to the punch with that one. like 13 years later, that's something I remember because I remember the scene where they're going over their plan, and he's like, "What about radar? And if they find our planes, we get the Blackbird as well."
Yeah, that was a big. That's a staple of the X-Men.
Yeah, again, so there's a little bit of fan service. You know, as a comic book reader, you're watching this and you're kind of excited on it. I think the climax of the film, the big climax that takes place at the Statue of Liberty, is a little anticlimactic.
You think so? Yeah.
I mean, it's in. I don't know. It's just it wasn't as action heavy as it could have been. It wasn't as cool. I mean, I think the big ending is Cyclops. I have a shot. I'm taking it. Pew! And he defeats Magneto with one laser.
Yeah, I think they're banking on the Wolverine Sabretooth fight that was going on.
Yeah, well, I guess so. But then the climax keeps going on.
Yeah,
and the fight wasn't super entertaining. I don't think
they've improved how they do their fights with Wolverine as movies go on. I think this was just they didn't know how to do.
Well, when you got two guys who can't get hurt,
yeah,
it's kind of a stalemate watching them, punch and stab each other.
Yeah,
because how many times did Wolverine stab Sabretooth and it didn't seem to do a thing? I mean, because Sabretooth heals, so it's. Right. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't have banked on that fight being the thing. I mean, there's this franchise. Okay, well, spoiler alert, they saved the day. Okay, so that's a movie. This franchise is as good as any time. I'm going to get into that later.
Okay.
Because there's one word, continuity.
Okay. That's a fair word to use in this episode.
We're living in the world of the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
right,
where these guys are intricately planning these movies, and they're sowing seeds that will show up in 2 movies later. And Kevin Feige, he knows what he's doing. He's got this big map planned out. This movie, I don't think they knew that this would be as successful. I don't think they knew comic book movies would become a huge thing. I think they just wrote one movie and like, holy shit, that was a successful movie. Okay, now we need a part 2. Oh my god, that did even better. And now other people are making comic book movies. Okay, now we need a part 3. Holy shit, this is a new world. Now we need a part 4. It's clear the writers are going movie to movie to movie.
Right.
And they're not thinking ahead. And whoever's assigned to a new movie is not looking back.
Yeah.
They're forgetting what was already done.
That's the one unfortunate side effect of this being kind of the pioneer for the new era of comic book movies is trial and error.
Yeah.
You said right now, Kevin Feige, whatever.
Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah, I'm sure, like you said, he's got like a billboard, like mapped out, like red strings everywhere, like tying everything together. There's no way that was the case back when this was going on. So
not at all.
It's unfortunate because there are some repercussions of that, going on in these movies.
More than a few, but I mean, because this is the first movie, I can't say there's any continuity flaws in one movie.
Yeah, right.
But there's like a few things that kind of. I mean, yeah, okay, I can't really hit this movie for it.
No, I wouldn't.
Just things are established in this movie that later on will get sort of rebuked.
This one gets a pass. This movie gets a pass if there's any continuity issues.
Yeah.
Or any comic book fan questionable issues that they might have.
Yeah. And again, because this was the first movie, you understand that they can't, like, what Marvel's doing, they have the luxury of translating very accurately from book to page because they know people are going to watch a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
This one was a big gamble. There was no built-in. There was no guaranteed audience.
Right. No. Absolutely.
So they had to change what they had to do. They had to make whatever compromises.
Yes.
To try and make a commercial film they could sell to the masses. So you cut them a lot of slack on this one.
Yeah.
So that being said, it was a good movie that I enjoyed the hell out of.
Oh, absolutely.
Big time. I remember I snagged it up on DVD as soon as it came out, and I watched it a lot at the time. It's a good movie. I enjoy it. Still entertaining. It still entertained me when I watched it.
Yeah. And then because you just mentioned it, just a few years later, because this movie did so well for everything it did, we got to have a sequel to it.
Yeah.
So let's cut right into X-Men 2. Oh, I mean
X2. X2, yes.
X2, X-Men United.
Yeah. I think. There you go. Which came out in 03.
Right.
May of 03. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now our mouths have been watered.
Yes.
We're like, okay, we know they can do an X-Men movie good.
Bryan Singer returned.
Returns. Everybody's back.
The cast. All the cast is back. The director's back. Yeah. So there's nothing you're expecting. There's a good anticipation.
There's one new addition to the cast in this film. Well, there's a few.
Yeah.
But the movie opens with a brand new character we haven't seen. And
one that we wanted to see.
One that we were really hoping. Yeah. Big fan favorite, the character Nightcrawler, played by Alan Cumming.
Yeah.
Really cool character actor. And he's got this amazing sequence that opens the film where he's storming the White House.
Right.
He's a teleporter, and he's teleporting, kicking ass. Like, I never realized Nightcrawler was such a badass.
Exactly, right.
Really. And it's this great action sequence, and they're playing Mozart's Requiem during it, and it's just brilliant.
I was about to say, it's almost beautiful.
It is beautiful, dude.
The music in the background, everything.
It's a very well done scene.
Yeah.
It's the only cool thing he does in the whole movie. But it's a great way to open the film. He's about to assassinate the president. He gets like this close to killing the president.
Right.
So that's a really cool way to open the film. And then we jump into all the X-Men as teachers and students and
kind of more of the same from the last movie. Yeah.
They drop a little bit of fact that ever since Liberty Island, Jean's telepathy is going wonky and her powers are getting everything's just a little wonky with her powers.
Yeah.
But that won't come back up.
No, I'm sure.
And then at the White House, we are introduced to another character. Brian Cox plays Colonel William Stryker, who was. I'm not gonna try and tell a story as we describe the film. He's the guy who gave Wolverine his claws. He's the scientist. He's a character in the books too.
Yeah, a little bit different in the comics.
Very different.
More of a minister, right?
He's like a religious zealot who thinks that mutants are a plague on humanity. Yeah. Friends of Humanity, is that a thing?
I think that's for some. It might be for that.
Yeah, it might be. But yeah, he's a religious guy who hates mutants. In the movie, they make him a scientist who's a military scientist. So
but yeah, William Stryker. Just the name Stryker, that's going to be mentioned.
Stryker. I love that joke. Okay,
but that name that's going to be established in this one, but it's going to carry out throughout the whole franchise. Pretty much. Yeah.
We're going to be talking about this character a lot.
Yeah. Well, we don't have to, but I mean the movies. That's
okay. Yeah, fair enough. The movies talk about this character a lot. I mean, you know why? Because he's very essential to Wolverine, and these movies talk about Wolverine a lot.
There you go.
He is the focus of almost every movie in this saga.
There's
minus one.
There's a cartoon that came out a few years ago. Really good. Well done. It's called Wolverine and the X-Men. That's what these movies should have been called.
Yeah, you're right.
Because every single movie is about Wolverine.
Yeah.
He's on the front and center of every poster. He's got the claws on every single poster.
Yeah, as much as I love Brian Cox, but once you put him in the story, you're like, okay, I guess this is another Wolverine movie. We're going to delve more into Wolverine's past and Wolverine's this and
these
that.
pesky X-Men characters keep getting in the way.
Kind of, right? And that's what sucks, is because we just said the first movie, none of the other characters get to be explored, and this movie kind of suffers from the same thing.
Right.
None of the characters get to be... Nightcrawler gets more exposition than the rest of the X-Men do in 2 movies.
Right.
We learn that he's very religious, and we learn he was from the Munich circus that was known as the Amazing Nightcrawler. We learn more about his characters than whatever. So... William Stryker, he gets the okay from the president to go into the school and apprehend. After this assassination, he gets the okay to storm the school, if you will, with all of his foot soldiers. Right around the time that Wolverine is substituting.
He just came back from...
He just shows up at the school.
He was trying to find this facility in Canada. He couldn't find it, so he's back here. And...
Cyclops and Xavier are going off to go visit Magneto in prison.
Yeah.
Jean and Storm are going off to go find Nightcrawler in Boston or some shit. So Wolverine's alone in the school while all these soldiers storm the school. And then there's a scene where he's in the kitchen with Iceman, and he smells. Right? He smells trouble. And he gets into a scuffle with one of these soldiers. And he pops his claws and then bam, stabs him right in the chest.
Yeah.
Double fisted, six knives in a man's chest, pulls him out. He's like, it's the first time, maybe the only time we see Wolverine in full berserker mode where he is just killing people. And I was like, oh my god, Wolverine just killed that dude, and he kills a lot more dudes.
Oh yeah,
in this scene. It's a pretty cool scene to see Wolverine finally
almost
stabbing and
just kind of letting loose a little bit.
Yeah. We get a hint of another character in this scene as Peter Rasputin.
Yes.
Daniel Cudmore. He becomes kind of a staple of this series, even though he has nothing to do in like 3 or 4 movies.
Yeah, it's a shame because he's a big fan favorite.
He is, and I gotta admit, when I saw him, open up that door, walk in, and then his medal shows all up, and they start shooting him, and he looks at his own body like even he wasn't even sure. That bullet, because he's probably never tested it.
Right.
Even he looked almost surprised that he didn't even get hit. And then, boom, they show 2 guys go through a wall. And that's it. We literally get about 2 seconds of Colossus.
Yeah.
We get about like a full minute.
Granted, that was
great.
Wonderful.
It moved a little bit. When I saw Colossus Metal do that stuff, it moved a little bit. But that's all we get. We get about a whole minute of Daniel Cudmore shirtless. Which, I guarantee a few ladies like that. He's a lot of people might know him. He's also in the Twilight franchise as one of those vampires. I don't know what else he's done.
I don't know.
But they're evacuating all the students to a secret tunnel, and Wolverine gives him like one of the kids who's stunned, and he goes, "I can help you." And Wolverine goes, "Help them." I'm like, no! I wanted to see a Colossus Wolverine team up, kicking all these asses, throwing basketball specials all over the place, man. And then he's like, "Help them." Oh, it stopped moving. After that point, it stopped moving. But we get a few more fan favorites, or like Colossus, and I think we see Kitty again running through walls, and I guess we get Siren. She wakes up and starts screaming, and she starts breaking. Everybody's like ah. So all we're really getting is just one random mutant showing a power.
That's what I'm saying before. We're getting a lot of cameos. We get a lot.
I guess you could call these cameos.
Yeah, just sprinkles out throughout the whole franchise.
So Wolverine with Iceman, Rogue, and a new addition we also met. We talked about a little bit before. We get Pyro,
right?
A little kid who can control fire. He's kind of a bad seed.
Yeah.
When we first introduced, he's using his powers while they're on a field trip, burning up bullies and kids like that. He's a bad seed.
Well, we know him from I knew him from the cartoon. He's part of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Yeah, is he an Australian in the comics or cartoons? He's not American.
No.
He's either Australian or British, but he's American here.
Yeah,
and he went to Xavier School apparently.
Yeah.
So them 4 escape the school, and they decide to head to Iceman's home
in Boston.
Something like that. Boston, Chicago. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, Boston. My parents live in Boston. Yeah. So they get to Iceman's house, where Iceman's family shows up. Apparently, he's never told them he's a mutant. So that quote unquote mutant, he's a mutant. So he has to have a coming out scene.
Yeah.
In it, and it's fine.
Metaphoric, I guess.
It's a little on the nose.
Yeah.
Bryan Singer is a gay man, and so this scene was written, I think, to kind of be a metaphor for that. He's telling his parents he's a mutant. His mother and father, we still love you, Bobby. Mm-hmm. Have you ever tried not being a mutant?
Yeah, that line was
like that. Yeah, I get it. It's a little too on the nose. We know. Well done, Singer. We get it. It's fine. It's fine. It's a fine scene. So Iceman's brothers call the cops. They show up. Some wackiness ensues, and they end up hooking up with Jean and Nightcrawler and all them. And then there's like
we get more plot things.
Yeah,
like
more
that,
plot. Things move along. Yeah. They get shot out the air by the military.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna crash. They're flying all through the air. It's a whole Top Gun scene. They get a missile, and they're crawling down. They're gonna crash, and then vroom, they stop in midair. Thank God they landed right at Magneto's feet, who just happened to be in the middle of the woods,
right?
Just standing there in case the X-Men were just flying along and got hit by a missile, and we're about to crash.
I would love to see like a little side little movie like starring Magneto and Mystique.
Just a few deleted scenes.
Yeah, like how they're just walking around the woods.
They're
how they got to that spot.
They're making s'mores in the woods. Is that the X-Jet? No. So then they all hook up and decide to storm Stryker's base, where he's also kidnapped some mutants.
Right.
And he's also kidnapped Xavier, we should say. Okay, there's a scene we forgot. Magneto's been in prison this whole time, and Xavier and Stryker's been interrogating him, learning about Cerebro and all that shit. And while
some weird brainwash things, he puts little drops.
He has. Like,
and that's a whole thing throughout this whole movie. Like he's got
brainwashing syndrome.
He's got everybody brainwashed.
yeah,
everybody.
So he kidnaps Xavier and Scott, brainwashes them.
Yeah,
with the help of his brainwashed mutant. Kelly Hu plays. They never say Lady Deathstrike, do they?
I think they say Deathstrike. I
don't think so. He calls her Yuriko.
Okay.
So it's established that that's who she is.
Right.
They give us her real name. So she's a character, also a character from the books. Mostly a Wolverine villain.
I got a thing for Kelly Hu, so whatever shows up. Yeah.
She was lovely in this movie.
Yeah.
Again, this is me being a little nerdy. In the books, she's not a mutant. She's a cyborg.
Right.
In the movie, they make her a mutant with Wolverine's powers, who's brainwashed.
Right.
And her power is she could heal, but she's also got like retractable adamantium fingernails. Right? That's her thing.
Retractable adamantium.
That's her deal.
In the comics, she
does have claws.
She does have adamantium claws.
Yeah.
But and that's actually something that they threw away in the movie series. Also, was the fact that it was her father that created the adamantium process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did Wolverine kill him?
Probably.
I know that.
It's safe to assume yes.
They say that on the cartoon.
That's what. Yeah.
I don't know if the cartoon is canon.
Yeah, he killed him because that's why has vengeance out for him.
I don't know,
yeah.
but I'm not an expert on her, but I know enough about her to know that the movies fucked her up. So yeah, there's me and my.
And we're going to see more of that too down the road.
Yeah, big time. They're going to fuck up a lot of characters. She's barely a character.
She has
no lines.
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned something else about Cyclops and Xavier being captured. They did nothing with these characters in this movie.
No.
And it's such a shame because I said it before. I love James Marsden as Cyclops. I think there's so much potential that they didn't tap into in this whole franchise.
One of the problems with this is Xavier specifically. Cyclops a little bit in this too, but in all three movies, he gets sidelined in the first act.
Yeah.
In the first movie, they booby trap Cerebro, and he's like, uses it, and he falls down. He's in a coma for the entire film. In this movie, he gets captured really early, and he's prisoner for the entire film. And the same thing happens in the next film, which we'll get to in that in a minute. But the point is, they keep just fucking putting Xavier on the sidelines, and Cyclops too in 2 and Part 3.
Yeah.
They saw it. Well, yeah.
Let's get right into it because I think. Well, before we move on, X-Men and X2, I think arguably the two better films of this franchise.
Yeah. They're the best well done.
Yeah, and because after this point, that's when we start seeing different creative people coming in, different takes on what they want to see as X-Men and mutants and this and that, and it really starts to veer off at this point. But I think up until then, I think X-Men 1 and X-Men 2 are very good additions to...
This movie had some really good scenes. There's one scene really quick, one of my favorite scenes in this movie, where they grudgingly accepted Magneto on their team, and he's flying.
Oh, yes.
And we've already talked about the bad seed, the little kid Pyro.
Yeah.
And he's talking to him. And the little kid, he's got this little Zippo that he's always playing with.
Right,
Magneto brings a Zippo. He's like, "What's your name, John?" "What's your real name, John? Your mutant name, you know?" And he's like, "Pyro." And he goes, "Quite a talent you have there, Pyro." And he hands a very supplicative gesture. He gives him back his lighter. He's like, "You're a god among insects."
Never forget that.
Never forget it. Don't let anyone tell you different. Something like that. I don't know. But it's a great scene where you can tell he just turned this kid. He just turned an X-Man into a bad guy.
Talk about cult leader, man.
Well, yeah, exactly. He's got that charisma, and Ian McKellen is just a good actor. It's a good scene. It's a great scene. You really can buy it. Mm-hmm. Granted, we know he's a bad seed, but you can see Magneto probably saw that in him.
Yeah, like Pyro didn't need like arm twisting or anything.
Yeah, he goes, "This I'm not going to waste my time with Bobby. He loves Charles, but this kid, he doesn't know what he believes in. So I'm going to give him something to believe in."
Yeah.
And it's just, if it's my cause, all the better.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really good scene too. This movie has some really good scenes in it. Yeah.
And the subtleties in that one after the fact, after Magneto did that speech, like him and Magneto kind of look at it, like look at each other, like, "Yeah, we got him."
Him and Mystique.
Yeah, Mystique, yeah, him and Mystique. They just kind of look at each other, like, yeah.
There's
very subtle.
One more notch in the belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, X-Men 2, pretty good movie. Just for plot purposes, it ends with Jean sacrificing herself,
right,
to save the whole thing. She gets they're all fighting at a dam. Dam blows, a big old water comes in, and she gets swept away and kills herself.
Because she has to like hold back the water in time for them to like, get out.
Yeah, and as she's doing it, she's getting little fiery eyes, and she's starting to flame on a little bit.
Fanboys are freaking out at this point, right?
Yeah,
comic book friends. I'm like, oh, okay, where are we going with this? You know,
or they're like me, going, "That's where you're going with this," but whatever.
It may have been a little bit too soon, but.
Too soon? Yeah.
Well, and of course, water, like you just said, washes over, and then we see like later on, like underneath the water, like the little, I guess there's like a fire imprint, like underneath the water.
Yeah, it's just the shape, an orangey, birdie,
yeah,
shapy, timey wimey sort of a thing. And then dun it ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No post credit scenes. Movies hadn't started to do that yet.
Oh yeah, no, this
yet. And then so we jump into part 3 of the franchise, in which we get a new director.
Yeah, because Bryan Singer, he left to go prosper out to do Superman Returns.
Superman Returns.
Yeah.
So yeah, he leaves the franchise to go do that.
Yeah.
And X-Men Part 3, X-Men: The Last Stand, is left in the capable hands of Mr. Brett Ratner, who at this point is mostly just known for doing Rush Hours.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so Brett Ratner. Would you put... Okay, now this movie is clearly a step backwards. Or you know, it's not... it sucks. Do you put that all on his shoulders, Mr. Ratner?
A little bit. I mean, like you said it on another show, another episode, that you're going to... If there's movies that's bad, you're going to put the blame on the director.
Yeah, and the writer.
Yeah. A
little bit, too. And I gotta admit, I think the writing is also really bad. Too much. There's too much going on in this movie.
Oh yeah, there's a lot going on in this movie.
There's a lot going on in this movie.
Yeah, but there's some major sins committed in this movie.
Yeah, this is where the movies start to really take a steep dive.
Yeah, I was gonna try to find ways of defending this movie. I looked for some redeeming qualities. I found none.
Okay, all right, let's jump. Okay, Brett Ratner's new director. Let's jump into it. Now, the opening of this movie, is a scene that takes place. It's supposed to take place like 20 years earlier, or something like that. I don't know if there's a little 20 years earlier caption at the bottom, but it's clearly we get a CGI de-aged Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. They're supposed to be younger men,
right? It's
still them. You can tell it's them. They just look creepy. They're meant to look younger. They just look creepy.
This is roughly going to be... X-Men 3 roughly takes place from 2007. This flashback is going to take place from between 81 and 85. So somewhere in that range.
Okay. Well, the point is, they're older men.
Right.
Probably in their 40s, 50s, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what. But they are together. They're still working on building their school. It's implied that they've been friends for probably years at this point. Mm-hmm. And they're going to recruit a young Jean Grey, who's like a little 10-year-old girl. And I think Magneto even says, we're not going to have to meet everyone in person, are we, Charles? So it's implied that he's working hand in hand with Charles to recruit students for a school. It's a whole thing that they're doing hand in hand, and they go and skip afterwards. So they meet a young Jean, who's like crazy powerful. And then we just jump ahead to the future, post-apocalyptic future where Sentinels are running around, the X-Men are fighting them.
Wait, we're not talking about Days of Future Past.
No. Well, we are a little bit. This whole scene of the X-Men battling in a post-apocalyptic future was a nod to the book Days of Future Past at the time.
Let's give the devil's due here. Brett Ratner. I know one thing.
Brett Ratner's the devil.
Yeah, pretty much.
I agree. Brett Ratner is the devil.
The one thing that a lot of people wanted to see in the first two movies, and I think even Singer wanted to put this in the second movie, but time constraints and things, he couldn't do it. But fans wanted to see the Danger Room.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think Sentinels? I think that was another thing that fans wanted to see.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, it's not something you just throw in a quick wink.
Right.
Hey, did you catch that Sentinel?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's a major thing. But the Danger Room could have easily been put in there.
Yeah.
And this movie does the Danger Room. And their scenario is sort of a little wink of Days of Future Past, because it's all post-apocalyptic, and they throw a Sentinel head in there.
Yeah.
Just the head of a Sentinel. But, so they're doing this train simulation, and they're walking away, and then a computer voice goes like, simulation over. And then everything around them just disappears into nothingness, and they're in an empty room.
Yeah.
To me, that was a little too fucking... Just because you got Captain Picard in your movie doesn't mean you can add a fucking holodeck. Okay? You can't just have tangible 3D holograms that you can... That it creates holographic fire to the point that Wolverine was lighting a cigar against it. Okay? It was... Come on. Come on. A holodeck... That won't be around to the 24th century or whatever. If you want, I know that was like as cool as it is. Again, people have told me this more than once in my life that I overthink things. But as cool as that was, I was like, come on.
There's some things that it works on in comic books. It works in cartoons. It's not going to translate very well to live action when you have a grounded reality.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. They took away the yellow spandex because it would look stupid on film, so they got rid of it. I think a fucking holodeck looks stupid on film, so they should have gotten rid of that too. Okay, so again, might as well start out with the new characters we get in this movie. Another fan favorite that people were always wanting was Beast.
Yes.
And we got that in Kelsey Grammer.
And I like... Okay, you know what? I said I'd try to find some redeem. I like Kelsey Grammer as Beast.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who watched Frasier for that decade it was on knows that he can play an educated, eloquently spoken, or whatever. Yeah.
And you look back at the old X-Men cartoon in the 90s, you can see that.
Yeah,
Kelsey
totally.
Grammer,
I bought him as Beast.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a good choice.
Yeah.
We're on board with Beast.
And they did a little more fan service. They started off him upside down. Like, it looks like he's normal, and then the camera pans around and he's upside down.
He's hanging upside down with his feet.
That was that little nod to the fans.
Yeah. They come into his office and is like, the president's ready for you now, because he's like a secretary of mutant affairs.
Yeah.
He's on like the White House staff or something like that.
Liaison or something like that,
Yeah. So he's working hand in hand with the president and all that. And the president also has Secretary Trask, played by Bill Duke. Big black guy who plays Trask. But,
yeah.
Okay, that's another... He's a character in the books.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, cool, there's more fan service. Just give this random character a name we recognize.
Right.
Even though he resembles the book character in no shape or form. Unfortunately, by doing that, it kind of comes back to bite you in the ass. So we got Bill Duke. A lot of people know him from... He was in Predator, big black guy. I actually like this actor, but he's Trask. Just keep that in mind. We're going to get back to it later. We also get a few more book characters. Dr. Kavita Rao.
Yeah, which is kind of a newer character that I believe was created when Joss Whedon went into writing...
Okay, there we go. So a big plot point of this movie is that a mutant cure has been created. A mutant antibody. They're calling it a cure by Worthington Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, right.
Warren Worthington, as in... We also get Angel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot of new people. Actually, this movie... We get a lot of new people. Quite a few,
to the point where it's like an overload of mutants.
I was like, let's just get Beast out the way, and that's the last of the new people. No, we actually get quite a few now that I'm starting to remember this movie.
And Angel, I like
Ben Foster.
I like Ben Foster. I don't know if he was a good choice for Angel, but...
I like the opening scene where he's a little kid trying to cut his wings off in the bathroom, and the dad's like, Warren, are you in there? And you think the kid's, he's fucking jerking off. I don't know why the dad is so angry. You know, come on, why have you been in the bathroom for so long? Because the kid's probably jerking off. Why has the dad got to be such a dick and kick the door open? Can you imagine how embarrassing it would have been? And this poor little Warren Worthington there with a Playboy or something? Like, ooh, sorry. Fortunately, the dad looked out and he was cutting his wings off. Whew, dodged a bullet there. But that was kind of a cool scene. He was really like, I'm sorry, Dad, that I'm a mutant. And he's like, oh no, not you too. And I guess that alludes to why he dedicates
that was all
company
motivation for
But I gotta admit, that was a pretty good scene. Little kid trying to cut his own wings off, mutilating himself. A little kid, cutting himself. Yeah, it's a pretty good scene. Arguably one of the few good things about this movie.
But going back to, like, I like the actor, but the one thing that I did like about him was we got a scene of him, like, actually flying out. Eventually in the movie, he's like full wingspan out and he's flying out.
Yeah,
I thought it was a nice image. I thought
it looked good. Yeah, it looked good. Who else do we got? Let's just run through the cast really quick. A few new people. Okay, There's a scene where Xavier's talking to his students, and he goes, "This is a film clip sent to me by a colleague, Dr. Moira McTaggart, played by Olivia Williams, who's I think actually British, but she plays her Scottish. Because this patient we have here, so we're like, oh my god, they threw in Moira McTaggart, a big part of X-Men mythology, a big part of Xavier's past.
Yeah, exactly.
They were a thing in college. You know, Xavier's actually got a few girlfriends.
Yeah, he does.
He does. He's got more than a few. Even though he's a bald crippled man, he
knows what to do.
He can get it. Yeah. Everybody in the X-Men team. Get it.
I'm sure he doesn't know. I'm sure he's not manipulating anybody.
Of course not. That would be unethical.
Yeah.
So she has like literally one line, one scene, but it's like fan service. Like, hey, you guys know Moira McTaggart. Here she is.
Yeah, and it made sense for that little cameo.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. So I was like on board with that. So this mutant cure, it hits the news, it hits the wire service. Then we cut to a what do you call it? With the Brotherhood, not the Brotherhood, but they're called the Omegas or something.
Something like that. Yeah, it was kind of vague on that as far.
It's like a small town. It's a town meeting of mutants.
Yeah.
Gathered together in like a building to just discuss, put something on the. We're gonna, here, let's talk about this mutant cure, and then Magneto with little Pyro at his side hijacks it, and he's like, they're not talking about eliminating us. No one ever talks about it. They just do it, and he manages to sway everybody to sort of join his Brotherhood of mutants, and he brings a few. We introduced a couple characters from the books in name only.
This is where it really starts. We talked about it, and this is where it really kicks in high gear as far as...
Yeah, we meet Callisto, who in the books is a Morlock leader. In the movie, she's a speedster who can sense mutants.
Yeah.
Caliban's power. We meet Psylocke, who travels through shadows, but in the book, she's actually a psychic ninja.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you... I mean, you give them these characters these names. The only people who are going to recognize these references are the people who read the books.
Right.
But the only people who are going to get pissed off at your divergence from these characters are the people who read the books.
Right.
So what is the mentality but by doing that? It's like you're almost intentionally alienating the hardcore fans of the books.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why this movie gets a lot of hate, because I am a hardcore fan of the book. So that's why this movie, I think, is a big stumble. I think they intended well. Like, hey, check it out. Here's more. Hey, here's Callisto. Hey, here's this guy. But they keep doing it wrong.
Here's a big thing that they got wrong. Let's talk about the death rate in this movie. We lose a couple of major...
the death rate.
Yes.
I thought you said the death ray.
Oh.
I was like, does the villain have a death ray? Because that's most comic books have a death ray. So, okay. The death rate. Okay, sure, fair enough.
We talked about how they didn't really use Cyclops in the first two movies, or Professor X for that matter. Well, they really didn't use him this time because they just killed him off.
No, actually, I read that James Marsden he was off doing Superman Returns or something. He couldn't be in this movie as much. But the timeline, I don't know, maybe that's not true, because Superman Returns, didn't that come out in like...
Well, Bryan Singer went to go direct it, Superman Returns, so they all had to be there together, I would imagine.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, forget I just said that. So, point is, they fucking kill him.
Yeah.
They kill Cyclops. They killed the leader of the X-Men.
Right.
Okay.
We still have Professor X, right?
Right. No, they kill him too.
Why did they? Who killed him?
Oh, Jean comes back.
Oh, what? I thought she... Okay.
No, yeah, she's dead. Well,
but she's a good guy.
No, see, this is where it gets all stupid. And like, you keep bitch... I mean, yes, people die in this franchise. I mean, like, you're arguing about killing a character.
Right.
They killed Jean last movie.
Right.
But we kind of glossed over that fact.
Right. Because it was kind of hinted that they were going to do something else with it.
Yeah. So they kill Xavier. And, yeah, we could get all, what the fuck? But, again, that doesn't mean anything either, because he comes back.
Well, does he come back?
Well, yeah. Well, he does. That's what I'm saying. Let's not try and drag it out. Anybody who's watching this knows the franchise. In a post-credit scene...
The first one in these little set of comic book movies, I think.
What is?
A post-credit scene.
Yeah. There's finally a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Had Marvel started to do that already?
No.
Okay. Moira McTaggart is in a hospital room, and then you just... The comatose body just goes like, hello, Moira, in a Patrick Stewart-y tone.
Yeah.
Charles? And then it ends. And then in the next movie, he's just back. He's just alive in his wheelchair,
right.
Just whatever. They never explain how he came back.
Because it wasn't his body that he...
Apparently, right before Jean kills him, he transfers his consciousness, just mental powerly, into this comatose body, who was his twin? Because why does he look exactly like Patrick Stewart? And why is he still crippled?
Yeah, those are two. Out of all the flaws this series has, those are the two biggest unanswered questions.
Now you could defend Last Stand by saying if it wasn't for that deleted scene, if he just came back, then you could blame. When does he come back? Is it in Origins? No, not in Origins. When is he?
Officially, it's going to be in the Wolverine.
Oh yeah, it's at the end of the Wolverine in the airport scene that he
Right.
comes back. Now X-Men Last Stand could put all the blame on the Wolverine. Say if they were the one brought him back, we killed him. But Last Stand kills him and brings him back within
Right.
the same movie with no explanation.
Exactly.
So the onus is on them.
Yeah.
It was on Last Stand. And it was on Last Stand. It was some bad storytelling, bad writing. It was just a stupid move. So they kill him. They kill Scott. They kill
The franchise, just about.
I mean, no, they didn't.
Well, there's one more character that you didn't mention. He's the Juggernaut, bitch.
Okay. Vinnie Jones.
Yeah.
I love Vinnie Jones. Matthew Vaughn was attached to this for a while as a director before he bailed because he saw the ship. He left the sinking ship. Matthew Vaughn, who produced Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch, two awesome movies with Vinnie Jones in it. So when he was involved, he was the one who cast Vinnie Jones. Then he left, but they're like, hey, we like this guy. So they strap all these prosthetic muscles. He's wearing a muscle suit. Vinnie Jones is not a huge guy.
Right.
He's not a bodybuilder. Like it kind of reminded me of Bane in the Batman and Robin movie. He's
another wonderful movie. By the way.
Yeah, he's got these fake muscles, and they looked okay. I mean, they didn't look as bad as that. But the thing is, I know who Vinnie Jones is. I know he's not that big.
Yeah.
I know it's him in a suit.
Yeah.
So what?
Well, you needed another mutant in there, so that's why you got Juggernaut, right?
Well, I mean, if you want to go through the list, we get Multiple Man. We get.
I kind of like Multiple Man. I kind of like that one.
Because they didn't really do anything with him other than just have him go all multiple.
Right.
That's all he did. Not McDreamy, but one of them other dudes plays Multiple Man. I forget his name. We get a lot of them. We get the Porcupine Kid. What's his name?
I don't even know.
Porcupine Kid. It's a good enough name. We also get dude who has spikes coming out of his arm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
People say that was supposed to be Omega Red, but...
what?
Yeah, I don't know. With all the naming...
No, that was not made clear to me.
Yeah.
That was not made clear to me.
Not me neither, but that's what I've heard.
Well, we also get a few more glimpses of some awesome ex-students using their powers, like the awesome mutant power to take notes without actually having to put pen to paper. There's a scene where Professor Xavier's giving a lecture, and there's a student just running her hand like 2 inches above her paper, and notes or writing is magically appearing.
So her powers are magic.
Well, I mean, no, it's science, but I'd feel fucking gypped. Like, that guy gets control fire. She's walking through walls. I can make ink appear on paper. That is the lamest fucking... It's like that episode of Family Guy where they all get superpowers and Meg only gets the power for her fingernails to just grow about 3 inches. I feel totally gypped if that's my mutant powers, to take notes.
You could be Cypher.
Without a pen.
Cypher's the worst one, I think. The worst.
Cypher.
He was the one that can just decipher any language.
That's an awesome power, though. Think about it. If you can speak any language in the world, that's kind of cool. It probably doesn't work well on the page, of a comic book.
He's the main character for a long time.
Well, I'd rather have that power than the power to take notes without a pen. Somebody's like, oh my god, I have to write something down. I don't have a pen. Don't worry, No, first you got to go find a phone book, a phone booth and change. And then you show up and you're like, I can take notes. I'm note writing man. So, like, what the fuck was that? And we've been talking about this for way longer than we should have. The chick who can take notes without a pen.
I gave you a softball for Juggernaut being a mutant, and you didn't really go on that one. But yeah, Juggernaut's supposed to be a mutant in this movie.
Yeah,
and he's not really a mutant.
It's kind of the same issue with Deathstrike.
Yeah,
they just make her. She's a character, or these are both characters in the X-Men universe.
Yeah,
but I guess they don't want to have to explain magic or cyborgs. So just make them a mutant.
Yeah,
audiences can wrap their head around.
And we
that
get
a lot easier.
Rebecca Romaine as Rebecca Romaine in this movie. Remember, she loses her powers and she becomes...
Oh, I was going to say, she shows her own face in X-Men Part 2.
Yeah.
In human form,
yeah.
So we get to see her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's... In a Prison Break scene, she gets... They've harnessed the mutant cure in a gun.
Yeah.
Like it shoots syringes. And she gets... She jumps in... Okay, she takes the bullet, if you will, for Magneto. She jumps in front of it. She gets depowered, turns into human... And Magneto is like, I'm sorry, you're not one of us. And he walks away.
Yeah.
He leaves her naked,
right,
alone, in the middle of a road, surrounded by army agents who want to imprison her.
Yeah.
Like, what a fucking asshole. She's been standing by us. At least I will levitate you to a hotel. And I'll leave you from there. I'll give you bus fare, and then you're on your own. But to just leave her right there naked? You're not one of us anymore. See ya. Drops the microphone. I'm out. Yeah, dude, that was like, come on. I mean, because that's the thing about Magneto. He's not a dick. He believes in mutant superiority. He thinks he's doing the right thing in his own mind, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But he's not a fucking asshole to his friends.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know. I hated just seeing him just leave her naked, alone.
Especially if you want to include all the backstory we're going to get in the next few movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at this continuity, we don't know how long she's been with him,
right.
but we know that she's pretty much his most loyal lieutenant. She's his number one, his go-to guy. And just the way he ditched her like that, it rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't buy it. I don't know. Because Magneto's a cool villain in that he's not just out. He's not twiddling his mustache. I'm going to destroy Metropolis or something like that. He thinks in his own mind he's doing the right thing.
Right.
Which includes storming Alcatraz, which has now become the base of the pharmaceutical company where they're developing the cure. So he wants to destroy the cure because he doesn't want mutants to become depowered. So that's his big end game. There's a big sequence with the Golden Gate.
Oh yeah,
bridge where he like levitates the bridge, to whatever. It's pretty cool. Looks good on film. Looks good in a trailer.
Yeah.
So he's got all of his mutants on the bridge, ready to storm the Alcatraz Island. There's a lot of soldiers there, and Pyro's like, "Let's take it down!" And all of his mutants rush. And I swear to God, about like there's a shot of at least a dozen of them. Really bad wire work, all having the mutant power to jump really high. Like, I get that there's a scattering of powers in this group,
right?
But so many of them have the mutant ability of just really high jumping.
Well, what happened was Magneto just lifted them all up and threw them over.
It's like, really? Like, throw 1 or 2, 3 tops. But they show, like, there's literally a scene where there's almost 10 guys in the air at once. And we don't see any... We get, like, one guy who can grow his arms back.
Oh, yeah.
And we get one dude who can...
Wolverine has fun with that one.
Yeah, grow those back.
Yeah.
And we get one dude who can, like, breathe just black death. He, like breathes smoke and he just kills some people. But beyond that, we don't... I don't know. It's a pretty lame fight scene.
Yeah. There's a lot of wire work in this movie.
A lot of wire work. A lot of really bad wire work.
So even the point where when I first watched it, like, oh, there's a lot of wire work in this movie.
Yeah, totally. And Wolverine and the X-Men show up to stop Magneto. So there's a fight scene where Colossus is almost not in there at all.
Right.
He's in the fight scene, but I don't think we show him throw a single punch in this whole fucking fight.
Is this where we get a fastball special somewhere?
Yeah.
Is this where it's at?
We get 2. We get one in the danger room.
Yeah.
And then one went to defeat Magneto.
Right. Okay.
And he's like, hey, make it a strike. And then Colossus is like, does that mean you want me to throw you over Magneto's head? I don't get what that means. Like, past him, because that's what a strike is. Faulty metaphor, but whatever. So, so yeah, they defeat Magneto, I guess, by they inject him with the cure, so Magneto's depowered.
Right.
And the whole Magneto's also, since in this time, recruited Jean.
Yeah.
And
because she's evil now. Yeah,
because she has long red hair. She's evil. She looks
like
she
kills Professor X and Cyclops.
She looks like Melisandre from Game of Thrones because she's evil now. And then she just goes batshit crazy and starts just killing everybody.
Right.
Just mutants and army guys.
Like just like make them vaporize or whatever. Like, they're like dispersing into like ashes.
Yeah, she's just like poof.
Yeah,
you're dead. And then Wolverine
saves the day again.
Saves the day. He stabs her and he's like, no, holding her dead body while he's shirtless. A lot like at the end of Van Helsing when he's holding Kate Beckinsale while he's shirtless. Whatever. So yeah, they kill Jean again. This fucking body count in this movie. Mm-hmm. Magneto gets depowered, which I'm kind of like, what the fuck? But whatever. And
they kind of at very end, the little chess scene where he.
Yeah, and again, it's like they were, oh my god, we depowered Magneto, but turns out no, he doesn't. He still has his powers. Oh my god, we killed Xavier. Turns out he actually is alive.
Somehow.
Part 2. Oh my god, we killed Jean. Turns out no, she was actually alive in the water. The only death that sticks is Cyclops. The one death that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is just not. Brett Ratner is just not the auteur that Bryan Singer is.
Right.
This movie is silly in a lot of scenes. There's a scene where Juggernaut he tells him, like, go break into the building and find the Cure Boy and kill him. And he's just knocking his way through guards, and they play like a bowling strike sound effect as he's like knocking through guards. I mean, that's just silly.
Yeah,
and I'm sure Brett Ratner had a good fat man chuckle over that, like, hey, it's gonna sound like bowling. But yeah, it was just dumb.
Well, okay. And then,
is there any, like, we were talking about a couple just good scenes in this movie? There are any that stuck out? Like, I liked that scene. There's one really quick scene I liked. It's more like a line.
Oh, well, I was going to say, not really good, but we were talking about everything that happened, killing off characters, depowering things. Rogue and Iceman was a thing, too, and Rogue got depowered, too.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Rogue decides to take the cure, and at the end of the movie, I think I saw in deleted scenes, they shot both. They shot where she shows up with gloves, and is like, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But in this one, she's like, I could do it, and I'm depowered.
Yeah.
So yeah, they depower Magneto, they depower Rogue, they kill Cyclops, they kill Xavier, they kill Jean. They're just all over the place.
What were you going to say? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Well, one scene I liked, which is kind of contradictory to what I was talking about, complaining about Magneto, but he's walking with Pyro, and Pyro says something like I would have killed Xavier if you asked me to, and then he stops walking and stops Pyro and says, like, Charles Xavier did more for mutants than you will ever know.
Yeah.
My greatest regret is that he had to die for our cause to live. Like, that shows, even though he's been an enemy of Xavier for years, he still has a grudging respect for him.
Right. Yeah.
Which kind of negates the fact that he leaves Mystique naked and alone on the side of the road.
There you go. Yeah,
so as good as that scene is, they kind of fucking just negated it, half an hour earlier in the movie. So what is it, man? There's no consistency in this movie. There's no quality in this movie. Would
have been funny if, like, after he said that line, he's like, "Isn't that right, Mystique? Where's Mystique at? Has anybody seen Mystique?"
You left her naked in the middle of. She's literally in the middle of nowhere. They're like on the freeway,
right? Yeah,
or something like that. Yeah, naked, surrounded by guards who are. Oh yeah. Oh, and then she sells them out, though.
Oh,
She's the one who gives the president and all those guys intel and all that. Hell hath no fury, like a woman scorn. So it's like Magneto did that to himself. Like, why would he fuck over the girl who knows more about his operation than anybody?
Yeah.
Come on, he's supposed to be a brilliant strategist as well. This movie's just so many just little things that you're like, what the fuck?
And that's what everybody said when they watched the movie.
And this was considered a big step backwards by just the public in general. Public opinions, this is probably the worst.
Almost like the last stand of what we were going to take for the movie.
The last time anyone will stand for this. Right, and I can't stands no more.
Yeah, and it was a while before we got an actual X-Men movie. But in the meantime, we did get our first, I guess, spin-off movie? I guess you want to call it that?
Yeah, I guess it's a spin-off.
Well, I say spin-off. Let's just say the studio said, you know what? Fuck the bullshit. Get rid of the X-Men, and let's just go right into Wolverine. Alright, gang, on that note, we're going to stop right here for right now, and we'll pick up right where we left off on our next episode, which will be out in a couple of days. So please come back as we conclude this topic of the X-Men Cinematic Universe. And of course, always remember to pop your culture. And now, enjoy this little musical number until we come back for part 2.
No place to hide. No place to run. No place to run. The mutant age has now begun. X-Men, it's a day